very punctual when it comes to the presentations and the introduction. So I need everybody to pay attention at this point. In the back. Listo. Alright. Cristóbal. Roberto. Alright. Well, hello. Welcome. Welcome to our third TED Club's presentation. We are very pumped and excited to be here today. In August 2017, an idea was born for these students. And they have been working really hard on, on what you're about to see. There's no grade involved. There's no prize at the end. They're just driven by their motivation and their passions. And the fact that they will get to share their ideas here in front of you. For those reasons, I just want to emphasize how proud we both are of all of you for your commitment and your hard work. Quick note, there's a box right next to where Juan Manoso should not be sitting at. And that box is the Say Something Nice box, okay? So at the end of this session, if you want to leave, and we want to encourage you to leave a nice message for any of the presenters, and then we'll pass them out to them, okay? I'm going to leave you with our favorite TED Club's advisor, and that is Mr. Brooke.
So, most of you know that doing things like this is incredibly brave. And for me, just doing this, I get nervous. Like Ms. Aguila said, these guys have been working hard for 6 months. Okay? And to get up and do this is incredibly humbling, courageous, and for me, like, I'm just so glad I get to be a part of this. Okay? Now we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to get the energy going right now. Now, most of our presenters are here, so I'm just going to ask that our presenters just stand up where you are and just put your hand up. And I want everyone in this room to give them the loudest applause that you can give them. Okay. Now, if you feel that urge to laugh, or you feel that urge to talk, or you feel that urge to do something that you know you kind of shouldn't, try not to. So without further ado, our very first presenter is somebody that has it all, because it's somebody that has seen it all. Maybe not all of it, but most of it. And here to explain that is Kimberly Rodriguez.
So, what's the hardest question you've ever had to answer? Was it, what do you want to do in life? What's your passion? Who do you like? Well, for me, that question has practically always been, where are you from? It's a question that is bound to come up when meeting new people. But the thing is, my answer is so much more complicated than the expected one-word answer. I didn't come from one place. I didn't come from two either, although my passports will make you believe otherwise. See, I come from a variety of cultures, all of which have made me the way I am today. See, I, like millions of others, am a third culture kid. Though what exactly are third culture kids? Third culture kids are children who have lived in a culture different than that of their parents for a significant part of their developmental years. We are the children of diplomats, the children of military personnel, the children of expats like my father and the parents of my friends. We are children who are constantly on the move, going from one culture to the next before we are able to form our own identity. We are global nomads. My dad is American and my mom is Venezuelan. Like my mom, I was born in Venezuela, but unlike her, I struggle with identifying to Venezuelan culture. My first memories are of Indonesia, where I moved before starting kindergarten. In my first week there, I was met with a sight you would never see here. A giant monitor lizard in my very own backyard. This was a lizard in the same family as the feared Komodo dragon, and which was eaten by locals shortly after we called animal control. And throughout the years, I would also see many wild elephants just a few blocks from my house. If you can't tell, I lived in the middle of nowhere, quite literally. It was a city, if you could even call it that, named Duri in the island of Sumatra, the largest of the Indonesian islands. To get to the nearest airport, a small little building about the size of this auditorium, you had to travel in a bus for 3 hours. After that, you had to drive to Pekanbaru, the nearest city where the airport was located, and from there you could branch out to your next destination. It was a process that easily took 2 days. We were isolated but diverse, and not just racially but culturally as well. I had friends from 6 of the 7 continents, totaling a couple dozen nationalities. Like the other TCKs, I learned pretty early on the cues on how to blend in. The cues on how to assimilate into different cultures. As children, absorbing these different behaviors is easy. In fact, it's something done unconsciously. You learn to constantly switch between cultures, and in some cases that even means switching accents. Now, I can't deliberately switch accents, just ask anyone. But if I talk to people with, say, British accents, by the end of the conversation, I'll be speaking in a manner very similar to them. It's little things like these that allow TCKs to navigate a world that, for them, has no borders. It's a life of constant alterations. In Indonesia, I had to learn to call every female local Ibu instead of Miss. So I called the teacher taught me Bahasa Indonesian, which is the Indonesian language, Ibu Oma instead of Miss Oma, which literally translates to Mother Oma. I learned various things about the culture of my host country, which is what we expats call the country we are currently living in. I learned about their dances, traditions, customs, and I learned to speak their language, Bahasa Indonesian. I also learned about wayang, which is Indonesian shadow puppet theater. And I also learned how things like batik was made, and I learned to play traditional games such as kongklak. Then, when I moved to Adarau, Kazakhstan, before the start of 5th grade, I learned Russian, one of the 2 languages spoken there, and started the process of learning about a different culture all over again. This time, a place that used to belong to the Soviet Union and had a few statues of Lenin and other communist figures scattered around town. A town that had a river splitting it into 2, with one side being in Asia and the other side being in Europe. But what does this do to your understanding of home, or to your understanding of your own identity? Before I could build and cement my identity as a Venezuelan, I moved. And in turn, I picked up customs and mannerisms from a country that other people would not consider to be my own. This is something that is characteristic of TCKs. We usually have difficulty in forming one's identity, but who could blame them? Our personal identity is influenced by the setting in which one is raised. Obviously, so is our cultural identity. But TCKs don't have a constant environment during their developmental years, which is when this culture is being formed. We grow and bond with distinct cultures and environments, making us eventually identify as being more of a cultural hybrid and less as being from a soul culture. In other words, the temporary nature of our assignments and the constant relocations create confusion in what one identifies with. However, this exposure to multiple cultures isn't bad. Although in many cases it can inhibit one's development, it can also create more open-minded and tolerant people as a result of those different experiences from being with such diverse groups. It also provides amazing experiences and opportunities, and friendships that will never die because of that unique experience of having navigated a foreign land together. For me, every place I've lived in is my home. Because what is home? You've probably heard the cliche that home is where the heart is. But it's true. Home is where the people you love are. It's where your memories have been made. It's all those places that have made you into the person you are today. you have connections with, emotional connections. It's those places that stick with you for your whole life. It's a lot more complicated than simply knowing where your ancestors are from or where you currently are right now. It's an abstract concept that humanity has made. It can mean different things depending on who you talk to, but if one thing's certain is that it's not constant, unlike many of you would maybe want to believe. But even though it's not constant, it will always be there for you when you need it, whether it is in the form of people or places that bring you comfort. If you become an expat, this question of what is home becomes harder, though you don't even have to move repeatedly to understand this confusion. Simply moving once is enough to make you wonder whether your old place of residence is still your home. But the answer is simple. If, in one form or another, you still feel an attachment to that place, then that place is still your home. After all, it was your whole world at one point in your life. So don't let anyone tell you that you can't have more than one home, because the best option is to be in tune with what you feel. And whenever you go off to college or make any other minor or major move, knowing that can be a great source of comfort, especially knowing that you aren't losing your old place of residence. That place is still your home. And using this knowledge and using this source of comfort, they can help you develop a new life in the second, third, fourth, or maybe even fifth home. You can't stay stuck reminiscing about the past, but you can cherish this place and know and understand what has made you the way you are now. When I get asked where I am from, most of the time I smile a bit and remember all the people I've met, all the places I've been, and all the experiences that have made me the way